I'd like to call this regular Board of Education meeting to order. If we could all please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started with the board meeting, I just wanted to acknowledge that in the last 2 months over the summer, Richmond schools lost 3 longtime teachers, passed away, Mr. Al Bolo, Mrs. Lois Mathiak, and Mrs. Marianne Reese. All 3 of them longtime teachers, retired. Mr. Bolo and Mrs. Reese still lived in the community. Mrs. Mathiak lived up in Memphis. And if we could just take a moment to remember them. I was fortunate enough to have all 3 of them as teachers, but just to remember them and their families. Okay. Next, I will do a roll call. Jeff.
Here.
Andy.
Here.
Tracy.
Here.
Rob.
Here.
Dan.
Here.
And I'm here. Does everyone have the new agenda in front of them that Terry gave to us? Should have been sitting right at your spot. It's a 2-sided. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Then a motion would be in order to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Support.
It has been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Our next item is our True Blue Moment. This is something we do every month where we recognize True Blue, great accomplishments of staff members, students, or members of our Richmond community. And this month in September, we are recognizing our retirees of 2013. We have 6 retirees this evening, and the 6 of them range from teachers, child care workers, teacher aides, and between them they have almost 150 years of service to Richmond Community Schools and our students. And we were saying as they walked in tonight how happy they all look and how retirement must really, really be a good thing for them because they all come back looking good and being very happy to be here to tell us what they're doing. And as a board, we are honored to have had all of them as employees here at Richmond Community Schools. We thank them for everything that they did over the years, how they touched our students, their fellow staff members, and our community. And we wish them nothing but the best in their retirement, a long, healthy, happy retirement, no matter where it takes you. We hope you enjoy it, and we hope you get a lot out of it, enjoy time with your friends and your family. So we are going to begin we honor each retiree individually. Our first one this evening is Denise Williams. She's a teacher's aide and is retiring after 10 years of service. Is she here this evening? Mr. Benoit, are you speaking on behalf of? Oh, here we go. Okay.
Mrs. Williams was a very dedicated paraprofessional in Richmond Middle School. She started in 2002. She was very effective with the students that she worked with each and every day. Students often come back to RMS to say hi to her, which is a testament to her relationships that she built. She was a strong asset to both the students and the district. She was always in good spirits with a smile on her face and had an excellent sense of humor. She was hardly ever absent. Her work ethic is unquestionable, and she put her best foot forward in everything that she did. And then I was going to say happy on your retirement. Stop by any time. The kids and staff would love to see you.
Great, thank you. Next, we have Doris Lazinski. Doris, I know you're here, so Doris worked in our child care, and she's retiring after 17 years of service.
Hi, Doris.
Hello.
I first met Doris back in my early years as the assistant principal at our middle school when she was working in the cafeteria. Then I moved over to Lee Elementary, and wasn't too soon after that we had an opening in our latchkey program. And I had Mrs. Miller who was there for just 1 year, as she had come over from the middle school where I also worked with Mrs. Miller in the cafeteria. So Mrs. Miller thought, oh, we have an opening, so I'm going to recruit my good friend, Doris. And then Doris showed up the next fall. So her last several years working for the district were at Lee Elementary. And I often wonder who would work a schedule where you needed to be at your workplace before 6:30 in the morning, then leave at 8:30 in the morning, then come back at 2:30 in the afternoon, and stay till 6 o'clock, or when parents don't show up, 6:30, 6:45. I often wondered who would do that. I'll get to that in a minute. I got to know Doris over the years, and her husband Jerry, her son Derek, and their daughter Katie, and about their travels and their college and their careers and Central Michigan University. And that really got to the heart of what I wanted to talk about. Because each year teachers get a class list. At Lee Elementary it's between 25 and 30. Unless you teach PE, then it's 500. And we know in education that the most important thing is to build a positive relationship with a student. Can't do anything until you do that first. Can't teach language arts, can't teach math until you build a positive relationship with students. And that's what Doris did. She built positive relationships with students. That's what made our culture and our environment at Lee Elementary. That's living our mission statement. It was wonderful to see. And you don't have to listen to me. Her last day, when her friend, Mrs. Miller, secretly had this little going away celebration for her, and to listen to the parents, to look at the cards and read them, you knew that Mrs. Lazinski did what we all need to do in education, that's build relationships. And I'm thankful for her. So I get back to the question, why does someone do that? To build relationships. And now we wish you all the best as she goes on to her next chapter and moving to Florida. And I would like to ask Dr. Olson, if you don't mind, next winter during midwinter break, if perhaps the Lee staff could take a retreat maybe, and yes, we'll go. It's educational. Just saying. Thank you so much, Doris. We'll all be there.
Would you like to say anything? No.
I asked Doris if she wanted to speak, and she said, oh, no. So. Next, we have Gretchen Dunschlager, who retired from the high school after 21 years of service. Mrs. Michon?
on down, Gretchen. Gretchen taught at the high school for 21 years as our home economics teacher. She taught family living, parenting, nutrition, healthy relationships and health, and I think a couple other courses because I've seen some strange books that we pitched out when we were cleaning out that I didn't even know ever existed at a high school. Gretchen was instrumental in the development of our health curriculum. While teaching here, she was on the State Health Curriculum Committee and received the Teacher of the Year Award for Family Consumer Science. Gretchen not only fed our students, but fed the staff. She always provided sustenance at faculty meetings, PLC days, conferences, etc. We will miss her macaroni and cheese, tomato soup, and grilled cheese sandwiches. She has already volunteered to bring us food back for this year. So we've given her our dates already. We will miss Gretchen's smile, her words of encouragement for all. She was always sending us emails to encourage us when things were kind of getting bad around the building. We wish Gretchen good luck in her new ventures as a retiree.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Kevin Parkhurst, and I don't know if he could not make it. Okay. Mr. Parkhurst is retiring after 28 and a half years. He was a band director, counselor, teacher. Mr. Bartels?
Yes, Mr. Parkhurst started teaching in Richmond in 1985, music, and then went into counseling. He was the band director for several years, did an excellent job with the marching bands, and then he decided to take his talents to guiding middle-level adolescents. He volunteered numerous hours in National Junior Honor Society, and Mr. Parkhurst is a scheduling master, and it's all in his head. So last year, knowing that he was going to retire, I picked his brain over and over and over because he liked to keep things in his head because that's what worked best for him. A quick story on that. The MISD, the Macomb Intermediate School District guru for scheduling, was emailing all spring, panicking because Mr. Parkhurst hadn't had anything in a computer yet for this upcoming year. And I even had a conversation with Dr. Linda Olson, and I said, have no fear, Mr. Parkhurst is on it. And the last week of Mr. Parkhurst working at RMS, he hit the submit button for the schedule in the computer, and it's scheduled with 96% accuracy, and the only 4% that didn't schedule was 5th grade that we schedule in August. The guru from the MISD emailed myself and Mr. Parkhurst and said, wow, I've never seen that happen before. So he was a true pro with the computer and the scheduling, even though he preferred to keep it in his head and or building it on paper the old-fashioned way. He was a very dedicated employee. His knowledge and work ethic was impeccable, and he didn't take his responsibility lightly. He was a true pro when working with our students. The way in which he guided and reached middle school age children, students, was amazing to watch. In counseling people, students, colleagues, parents, and whoever crossed Mr. Parkhurst's path in his career are better today because of Mr. Parkhurst. So Mr. Parkhurst, we wish you all the best in retirement, and good luck.
Next, we have Mrs. Sally Hager, who retired as a teacher after 35 years of service.
Yes, Sally Hager started in 1978 and taught science and mathematics for Richmond Community Schools. She's taught in both the elementary and middle school and subbed occasionally in the high school, so she has been in all three buildings. In 2004, probably one of Sally's legacies will be with Dr. Hiller and Mrs. Plegan started our Builders Club service organization with Kiwanis. And if you don't know much about the Builders Club, if you just look at what they do on paper, it's incredible the amount of service that you and this group have done. This group is a service to schools and community. You've helped develop future leaders, foster strong moral character, and to encourage loyalty to school, community, and nation. You and this organization have helped with several national tragedies, local services, Medi-Lodge, caroling, food drives, and with the encourage loyalty to the nation, the amount of work that your group has done to support our troops and our servicemen is awesome. And you've also helped numerous local families in need. Since 2008, we've been working together. You've taught 7th and 8th grade science, 6th grade science and mathematics. You bring and brought a wealth of knowledge to both the science curriculum and math curriculum, and worked well with your colleagues, and you all ran things by each other all the time, and they leaned on you for that. One thing that I appreciate is you were not afraid to try new things and find a better way to reach your students. In the last 5 years, I can honestly say that besides our technology director, Sally used technology, the many computers that we have, more than any other teacher in her classroom. She was constantly taking her classroom down to the library where we were wireless at the time, and then when we were wireless building-wide, she was using those mini computers. Now, you would think that a teacher that is towards the end of their career would not like technology and not take the steps to improve with technology and teaching like you have, and that was greatly appreciated. You searched out many free websites and student-friendly websites to help tutor them, and you helped reach your students in non-traditional ways and made a difference. When walking by or in your classroom, your students were always active, whether it was using the science that you were teaching, making projects, using computers. Your kids were actively engaged. Every year, Sally would set hours before school and after school and at lunch of her own time to help mentor students that were struggling, and that is commendable. Thank you, Sally, for your numerous years of service. You will be missed. Thank you very much.
And last but not least, our last retiree, Mrs. Tina Syverson-Cole, who is retiring from Richmond High School after 37.5 years thereabout, she tells us. Come on up.
Tina. Tina was the art teacher in the district. I have 38 years, so we'll leave it at the 38 there.
0.7.
0.7, okay. I know for the last 13 years she's been at the high school. However, I do know that in talking with her, she has taught both at the middle school and elementary, so she has truly done K through 12 art in our district. Besides art, how many of you knew she taught social studies at the middle school, math at the middle school, and had an at-risk program at the middle school? Tina has run an exceptional award-winning art program here at the high school. We have student work all over the state and Washington, D.C. And today, right now, there's something there, isn't there? We have someone's work there now, or did it?
No, I think this year is in her state office.
Okay, so in our state office. But we have had work in Washington, D.C. Over the years, many of our student portfolios have advanced to New York, where they have been received with high honors. Under her direction, we have students who have received scholarships to the Center of Creative Studies to further their education in art. Tina has also held almost every extracurriculum role at one time or another in the district. She has also played a major role with our faculty as our union president. We will miss Tina's creativity and her leadership in the building, and we wish her good luck in her future adventures as a retiree.
Are you sure? You've said so much over
I know.
the years.
This is
you
the
don't
one
wanna
time
say
I'm
anything
not
else?
going to speak. I'm just going to smile.
Okay. Because we'd love to hear you one last time.
Don't get me started.
If we could just have our retirees one last time stand up for us. And
Remind me too, the board T-shirts for the parade, the Good Old Days parade. We needed a couple more for some new members and all, and that just reminded me, Jeff. Thanks. Jay's Silkstream didn't charge us at all for those shirts. He just said your good work is great. So just to put a word out there to thank Roger there too. So he does good work.
yeah. Tracy, is your microphone on?
I don't know. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
It is? Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Right. Gentle boy.
Anyone else? Okay. Next item on our agenda is our public comments portion of our meeting. That's the part of our meeting that if anyone in the audience would like to address the board, you may come up to the podium, state your name. If you wish an answer to or further talk about your comment, leave your name and telephone number. Terry, there are cards there, correct? And you get 3 minutes to speak. So come on up.
I have a question. May I give her my 3 minutes?
May you give her your 3 minutes?
Yes.
You don't want to speak?
If I need them. If she needs them.
Yes, you may.
Hello, my name is Alicia Powers, and this is my best friend Alexa Perry. We are both seniors here at Richmond High School. As everyone knows, senior year should be one of the best years of your life. It's your last year in high school to achieve academically, bond with your high school friends, decide what career in college to pursue, and it's your last year to play high school sports with your varsity teammates. Alexa and I have both played basketball and volleyball for the last 3 years at Richmond High School. In our freshman year, we both made the JV volleyball team, and Alexa was team captain of our JV team in her sophomore year. We've worked hard mentally, physically, and emotionally 5 to 6 days a week between practices and games. We have also maintained academic achievement in school while playing sports. In our junior year, our commitment and dedication paid off, and we earned our varsity position on both the basketball and volleyball teams. We continued to improve our skill set by playing on a Michigan Elite volleyball team and participated in several college volleyball camps, where we received excellent evaluations. For the last 2 summers, we volunteered on weekends and worked with the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders during their volleyball camps. This summer, we took it upon ourselves to run the open gyms for the younger student athletes. On August 19th, the newly hired and first-time volleyball coach, Miss Kate Green, informed Alexa and I that she was cutting us from our varsity team. We were the only seniors cut. Miss Green told us, and I quote, "Even though your skill set is the same, I need time to work with the younger girls to make something of this program." Miss Green chose to bring up 6 juniors and 1 sophomore to the varsity team. Varsity is not the place to develop players. That's why we have a freshman and JV team. To pour salt on the wound, the sophomore Miss Green chose to move up happens to be Alexa's younger sister. Miss Green was advised by other coaches not to do this. Miss Green also chose to reduce the roster this year from 14 players to 12 players. In many school districts, when an athlete is cut, the coach offers them some type of position to continue to be part of the team. Miss Green offered us nothing and showed no compassion or concern. How could someone who doesn't even know us, never watched us play varsity last year, and only spent 4 days observing us during tryouts, have complete control to take away our varsity position that we earned in our junior year? The damage doesn't end here. We are preparing for college admissions. Ms. Green took away our opportunity to play Division III volleyball in college. And how is this going to be perceived on our college applications? When it comes down to college admissions and two people have the same grade point average, an extracurricular activity is what they look at next. The damage is done for Alexa and me. We cannot begin to express the humiliation and hurt we feel every day coming to school, watching our varsity team wear their jerseys and board the bus for the games. What happened here is heartless and wrong, and it was a coincidence that we happen to be best friends. We are asking you, our Richmond Board of Education, whose first concern are the students in this school district, to first further investigate this incident, and secondly, revisit the Richmond athletic policies. We are requesting that a new policy be put in place that does not allow seniors to be cut who have already earned their varsity position and are in good standing. This packet contains examples of other school districts that already have this policy. We don't want this to happen to another student athlete. What we will always remember is the love and support shown to us by this community and our teammates. On the day we were cut, we hugged each other and cried together, and that's what a team is truly about. Thank you, Dr. Olson, and the members of the board for allowing us to share our story with you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Patricia Manchik. I pay taxes for this school. And the only thing I want to say is I wish every one of you could feel the hurt we felt for granddaughter. It's time to shake the bush in this administration.
Our next item is committee report. Oh.
Hang on.
My name is Mary Cirilla. This happened to my son when he was a senior. I did nothing about it, and it has bothered me ever since. It still hurts me. And he saw the letter about what was happening tonight, and he said, wow, that's great that there's all that support for them. And he said, Mom, why didn't you do anything when it happened to me? And I felt awful, but I said, Jake, you would not have wanted me to. And he said, no, I wouldn't. So I'm speaking now because I feel, in a sense, I'm doing something for him now. And I've known these girls practically all their life, and I feel for them. I cried when I heard that this happened to them, and I don't want to see this happen to any other students. It's ridiculous. Thank you.
I would talk on that subject, but I get too upset. So I do have a couple other issues that my wife
Mark,
Felicia was going to...
Excuse me, I know we know who you are, but for the record.
My name's Mark Schmidt.
Thank you.
My wife Felicia was going to come up here and speak about a couple things, but a lot of points are always brought up in these meetings. I just wonder if any solutions ever come out of them. And one of them we brought up last year was the busing. And, or not, I'm sorry, this is a new one. The question came up about busing and how much do we really save by transporting athletes one way, dropping them off and leaving them. And I kind of did the math, and I'm guessing maybe $9,000, $10,000. Okay, I don't know the actual number. I'm sure you guys did the math before you made that decision, because otherwise that'd be pretty foolish. But you guys ever look at the perception that gives other school districts? We always want people to come to our school, come to our school, come. So we go take a track team to wherever. We drop them off, bus driver takes off. What are you guys doing here? Oh, you're in the wrong spot. I don't even know how that, and that team has to find their way to the right spot. Inclement weather. Where do they go? They got nowhere to go. Other teams are going to their buses. Our kids are left to fend for themselves. We sit there and we, come to our school, we got a great school, and we do stupid things like this. It just amazes me that we don't, you got to look at the way people perceive your school. And cutting buses and taking buses one way is an example of a very foolish move, if yes, in my opinion. The other thing we talked about was last year we talked about when school is canceled, that all activities get canceled. And I wonder if that was ever revisited by the board, because once again, there's a policy in place that says someone's supposed to make a decision on extracurricular events. Well, yes, sporting events can be made up, but there are certain academic things that can't be made up. And when you just cancel school and then you just say, oh, everything else is canceled, some academic things can't be made up. And once again, it goes to the fact that we need to use common sense about some of this stuff. And I don't know what the policy says. I don't know if you guys looked at the policy. I don't know if it's been changed. But if it hasn't been, someone really needs to look at it and make sure it's in there, so what we do, how we handle it, and the right person is making the decision. Because whoever was making the decision last year is not the right person, because the decisions they made were foolish. Simple as that. And then the last thing I got is, I don't know a lot about this. This is Felicia's notes, but the graduation ceremony is always held the first week of June. Well, the first week of June for summer sports is a huge weekend. And you're making kids choose between going to these sporting events, which sometimes are district, state stuff, or going to their ceremony. So no other school in our area has it on those days. Why? I'm sure it's a money thing, but change it to Sunday afternoon, change it to the following weekend, change it to something. These kids should not have to decide between participating in a very important sporting event to them or walking in a ceremony. It just doesn't make any sense. So I really hope the board would look at doing something about that. And I'm sure I used up my 3 minutes, so that's it.
Anyone else? Okay, next, committee reports.
The Buildings and Grounds Committee met last week in regards to a resident that recently purchased a house whose property backs up to the Will L.E. Drive over there. It was Margaret, Rob, and myself there. And we, as a committee, wanted to bring to the board our solution kind of to the problem is maybe have, at her expense, have our attorney draw up some type of agreement for the, basically she has a rear drive that she wants to temporarily use for her fishing boat, so which would involve her backing her boat and truck over top of the curb to access the rear driveway at her house. It's not going to be an everyday thing, so us as a committee thought it would be a good gesture to let her continue to use it. The previous owner had sold the property to her under the, I guess, it was advertised as rear access. She bought it thinking she had rear access to her backyard, to her driveway, and she moved in and was found out otherwise. So, does Margaret or Rob, you guys, did I miss anything there?
I think they're here also.
And they are here. There. Couldn't see it, got dark. Yeah, They came with a proposal to us,
Yeah.
and everyone saw that. Dan also took a picture, for those of you that didn't know possibly where the house was. They have been put in a tough spot based on the purchase of the home and what they were led to believe was their property. We're in a tough spot because we have our safety, it's our property, our students. They came to us, with a couple different avenues to pursue.
I think she might even have copies for everybody.
Everyone got it, didn't they? Oh, no? Did you bring?
We have copies of the listing.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you meant to.
Yeah, the listing, so you could see what, how they were misled, I guess.
Oh, great, thank you. Okay.
I can send you the follow-up of what they gave us, and we were thinking if you were inclined to go this way, then I would have something drawn up that we would take action on at a later date.
That we would have our attorney look at it.
Yep.
They are willing to pay for, the attorney and that, but we're looking for the rest of the board, if you're in agreement with us, to at least let's look into this, see if we can work up an agreement that's going to serve our purpose for safety and will serve their purpose for living in the home.
Mm-hmm.
So the three of us recommending that that's the direction we go, and if everyone else agrees with us, we're going to ask Linda to move forward and to work with the homeowner.
It's no expense to us. They've agreed to pick up the attorney fees and all that stuff. So.
Sure. I think that sounds like just knowing when it is highly trafficked, when that area is just really highly used.
And that was part of.
That just to make
that
sure
was
that
part
that's
of the
part of it.
Yep, it was.
And that's part of the discussion and part of what we agree on.
Okay.
And it is a pretty big curb for them to be hopping over every day in a vehicle. So I mean, it definitely put its wear and tear on the front end of a vehicle real fast if they were to try and drive over it every day without us seeing. And it'd just be a contract between us and them. If they sell the house, then it's
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
game over,
Right,
start over.
okay.
And it wouldn't be putting in, so it would be a driveway access.
No.
It would be a ramp like they discussed in the proposal.
Yeah.
That way we're not
A
doing a
ramp that
curb
would-
cut or any of that type thing.
So they could go over the embankment, with a ramp.
It's basically
type stuff.
like 3 2x4s screwed together to kind of use the.
And that will always be there?
No.
Oh,
No.
all right. Right.
It'll be in my truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It'll be used when.
When they're going to use it.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So yeah, if everybody agrees.
I think this agreement should be yearly, or are we just going to sign it once and call it good?
I think we were comfortable as long as they were owners.
As long as they were the
property.
owners. But, we can look at, if
We
you,
can,
doing it yearly,
Nothing
we
wrong
can
with
look
that.
at it anyway, and they will work with us. So if we want to look at it yearly, that's fine.
Or if something changes, boat size, vehicle size, something like that.
Yep.
Sure, I think we got to make it specific to the boat, the size of the boat now and that.
Right, and if things change with them, then they can come back to the board, but that way they get what they need to get taken care of now and to our liking and their liking. Go ahead. Did you want to come up and?
Well, no, 'cause
Okay.
I'll really turn red. But the boat's not gonna get any bigger. I mean, I don't plan on buying a bigger boat. And like I think Dan said, the truck's been there all summer until me and Dr. Olson spoke, and then I pulled it out and put it out front. So
Right.
it's gonna be a very limited access, me going up and down that curve, and it would be weekends only, and a few weekends out of the year. It's just like Amy said, if we need my truck, then that's what we're gonna use it for, but other than that, it wouldn't be during school hours or anything like that.
And I just want to say that our biggest concern with the previous owners was the safety factor. And when Dr. Olson met them, it was, what are you doing driving this truck, and what do you mean it's my property? So it probably wasn't the best meeting that they had, but to their credit, they move the truck, and the truck has not been back on that spot until everything gets settled. And they really want to work with us, and so we want to at least try to work with them and see if we can come to something mutually agreeable.
It's just nice to see a resident following the proper steps
Yes.
and doing it the way it's supposed to be done to get something done.
Yes. Good?
Move forward then.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So then Dr. Olson will be getting in touch with you guys on how we're going to go from here. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome to Richmond, like we said the other day.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Oh, next, bond committee met, and I have for everyone, we have our town hall meeting on Wednesday at 7 o'clock in the auditorium. We talked about how the town hall meeting is going to go, and that's just for board members to look at this. That's how we're going to run things. For those of you in the audience, we have our town hall meeting to talk about the bond issue on Wednesday at 7. If you have questions or concerns still about the bond, this is the time to come and ask us questions. We will have answers. We are going to have some demonstrations by teaching staff on how the technology is going to do well for us if we can get the bond passed. You'll be able to go down and look in our science labs, and Mr. Slater's going to be able to show you what the improvements they are going to do. There'll be signs around the building to show you when things pass, what the changes are going to be. So it's our time to give as much information as we can and to encourage people to get out and vote and support our students and our schools. So we will all be there as a board, and we hope that we see a lot of people there from the community that have questions that we can answer. So we hope to see everyone. We hope the big crowd that just left doesn't have plans for Wednesday night, and that they can come to and get some information about the bond as well. That would be great. That's it. Those were the only two committees, correct? Okay. Next, Colleen, our student board representative report.
Okay, for the elementary school, Lee Elementary is off to a very good start this year. The school has made some adjustments to arrival and dismissal with regards to parent pickup. For safety reasons, the drive in the front of the school has been closed off to allow parents and children to walk to the parking lot without having to negotiate through cars in the drive. The new members of the safety patrol have been on duty. 4th grade students take their role seriously and do a very nice job of helping the younger students as they exit the school. The staff at Lee is very glad to have the hot days of last week behind us. The classrooms were quite uncomfortable, and it was challenging for teaching and learning. For the middle school, the Meet the Teacher night was a true success. Parents, students, staff were grateful for the opportunity to have a great kickoff to the school year. The web orientation on the second day of school was great. The 5th graders had a blast, and the 8th grade web leaders did an outstanding job helping them with their transition to middle school. Many safety drills were conducted to help the students understand the importance of safety drills and conducting them in a serious manner. Middle school picture day took place on last Wednesday, September 11th. And for the high school, as of today, will start NWEA testing for 3 weeks. These tests will provide data for all the students on where they need help and where teachers can challenge them. The homecoming parade and football game will be October 4th, and the dance will be on the October 5th. The NHS will also be hosting a bonfire that week on Wednesday, October 2nd. The high school will also be hosting the district court on October 2nd, held by Judge LeDuc. The school's new crime and justice class will help work the court by helping with setup and other things. And here are just some new things that are happening around the building. There's a new AP Calculus class and a new Criminal Justice class, which started with CPR training on the first day. There are also new Sprout Healthy vending machines that meet the federal guidelines are a healthier choice for the school. Auditions for the production of Legally Blonde just finished up last week for the fall musical. And college visits have also started for the juniors and seniors with CMU, Wayne State, Michigan State, Alma, and Adrian, which are booked through October. And all the fall sports are off to a good start as well.
Excellent, thank you. Kelly, what time's the bonfire on the 2nd? Do you know?
I think it starts at 7. 7 to 9.
7? And Colleen, welcome back from the summer. How's the senior year going?
Good.
Good? Good, glad to hear it. Next is approval of consent agenda items. A motion would be in order.
If I could introduce our newest teacher, Ashley Gibson, who is on the consent agenda. She is teaching kindergarten at Lee and is a graduate of Saginaw Valley State University.
Is that you, Ashley? Come forward so everybody can
We
see
all want to
you.
stand in your yard.
Right up, get up so the camera can see you and everything. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, it is dark. Got to make sure she gets seen. Okay, and a motion would be in order to approve the consent agenda items.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next is our audit report. Vicki?
I'll just bring the presentation up and Mike and Jennifer can
There you go.
introduce themselves.
That way. How's that? Good evening.
Hello. Hi.
My name is Mike Frawley. With me is Jennifer Watkins. Jennifer is a senior manager in our firm. She's been with us for, I always forget this,
8 years.
8 years. She is the one who's actually in charge of actually getting the work done, along with a couple of staff people. We want to do tonight is just go over a couple of things. Does that work there? Yeah. Okay. Basically, go over some of the highlights of the audit. We'll take any questions as we go along if you've got anything that you're unsure about or have questions on. First of all, we always talk about the importance of the opinion of the audit report, and again, it is the most important part of the report. We have what's now called an unmodified opinion. You see at the bottom we talk about the clarity standards, the AICPA, who dictates what we do and how we do it, has changed the opinions this year. If you read through the audit report, it looks a little different. They've got headers on the paragraphs now, and so it actually tells you what is management's responsibility, what is the auditor's responsibility, what does an audit consist of. Here is the opinion. It references some supplemental information, required supplemental, other supplemental. It's about, I think, like 3 pages of stuff, if you will. But the key thing is it is an unmodified opinion. It states that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. And we also note is we have no material weaknesses or no significant deficiencies or no instances of non-compliance. If we had those, they'd be in our management letter or they'd be in the single audit depending on the magnitude and what they were pertaining to. Looking at some of the funds we go through here, debt retirement funds, you can see here we took in about $1.9 million this year, a combination of property taxes and also the last year of the Durant bond money, which is just a book entry on the district's part. It's been going on since 1998, I believe. Is that right? I believe. Expenditures, a little over $2 million. Again, just bond payments and interest payments primarily. We had excess expenditures for the year of about $138,000, leaving us with a fund balance of $370,000 as of June 30th. The capital projects fund, essentially, there's a very small one that's been out there, but essentially this is the bond fund, the 2008 bonds. We're spending that down. We're now down to about $57,000 in fund balance left there. The $13,000, I believe, was insurance recovery this past year, and we spent about $445,000 in various construction projects during the year. So again, we're down to about $57,000 left in that of those bond monies as of the end of the year. Special revenue funds, this is a cafeteria fund. As you can see that we took in about 426, we spent about 409. Ending fund balance there is about $120,000. Okay, general fund. This is our budget and our actual numbers. Budget being the final budget that was adopted for the district at the end of the year. We had projected revenues of about 13.6, expenditures of about the same, excess expenditures of about $15,000, which would have left us with a fund balance of $1.1 million. Actual results was about 13.5. Some of the variances in there, there's two things. One, we were under budget on some grants, some state grants, primarily at-risk dollars, and also some federal money. We were under budget on grants, totaling about $260,000. The sale of the property, we were over budget on the proceeds of the sale of property. We only had, I think, $3,000 on that line item budgeted, and we actually wound up with about $165,000. So that was pretty good. On the expenditures, because of the way grants work, to the extent that we were under budget on the revenue side, we were also under budget on revenues. So that again is about $260,000. We were over budget, and I believe there's a note in the footnotes on that. We were over budget on debt expenditures in general fund. And again, that relates to the property sale and the payoff of the land contract. We only budgeted to make one annual payment on a land contract. We actually paid the whole contract off, which under governmental accounting is an expenditure. Even though we're paying off a debt, it's an expenditure in the general fund, so we're over budget on that particular line item. Our actual results then, we had excess revenues of about $250,000, which we added to our fund balance then, so we're pointing about $1.4 million in fund balance as of the end of the year. And we'll talk about some percentages on fund balance in a little bit here. Breaking down revenues, as you can see, the largest chunk of that, 84% is the foundation grant, and that's essentially the guaranteed money from the state of Michigan. In round numbers, there's about 1,650 full-time equivalent students. The foundation allowance is about $7,000, a little less than $7,000 per student. What we don't get in property taxes was about $2.2 million, and we got about a little over $9 million in state aid to make up that difference. And the total foundation was about $11.5 million for the year. The other state grants is essentially the at-risk, and there's what they call categorical grants that come through the status report from the state of Michigan. That makes up to 6%. Federal money, 6%. The two big ones there is the IDEA Special Education Program, which comes through the intermediate school district, and the Title I program are the two big ones in there. And the other is really just everything else. It's athletic monies, it's community service monies, it's miscellaneous local revenues, interest income, any other relatively small dollar amounts. On the expenditures, we've broken them down. Essentially, if you look at the instructional support, which is 10%, and that's going to be guidance, social work, librarians, that type of stuff, professional development. And then instruction, which is the 61%, that's direct classroom instruction. That's the dollars that go in the classroom. Could be teachers, could be supplies. It's Title I dollars, it's at-risk dollars, special education dollars. Those two combined, we've got about 71% of the total expenditures basically towards the students, either in direct capacity in the classroom or in support capacity, social workers or librarians and whatnot. On a relative basis or comparative basis, we get, I think I mentioned in prior years, we get statistics from the state of Michigan. A group average, which are districts between 1,500 and 2,000 students, of which there are like 62, I think I've got that written down somewhere. And also the state average, and if we factor out Detroit. We've got 71% going towards the students. The group average, this is last year's numbers, was just a touch under 70 at about 69.5, and the state average is at about 66. So relative to either the group or the state, we're doing good in that capacity as far as spending money on the children. And the other ones were a little bit, operations and maintenance transportation. We are a little bit less than the state average, and that has to do with size of the district to a certain extent and population densities. Especially in the transportation, and then athletics, the other, and administration support. Again, we're all fairly comparable with the state on those I mentioned before the fund balance. Now, if you look at fund balance as a percentage of expenditures, you can see the last few years we've built that up now to we're approaching 11%. The state, again, is everybody except Detroit, is just a touch under 10. And our group average, which again is the 62 districts of a similar size, is right around 11%. So we're very comparable now with either the state or the group average. And just a couple of things here to kind of wrap it up. One of the things we talked about, the expenditures that the districts face. This is retirement rate for the last 10 years. And this is basically, go back 10 years ago, we were paying 13%. We're now up to 28%. The 28% includes this year they've got a categorical where they're kind of paying it from the state for us, which is about 4.5%. But the total retirement rate now is approaching 30%. Basically, every dollar of salaries we pay 30 cents towards the retirement fund. And again, that has to do with a number of different factors, but that's been increasing, as you can see, over the last couple of years. And then lastly, on retirement, if you read through the audit report, we mentioned a couple of governmental accounting standards that came into effect this year, number 63 and 65. Which changed the format of a couple of the statements in there. There's one coming down for June of 15, GASB 68, which is Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statement number 68, which has to do with the presentation of pensions. And this, by coming from GASB, will affect schools, it will affect cities, townships, states, everybody who's a governmental entity. And basically what it's going to do is to have these entities book as a liability on their financial statements their portion of the unfunded liability in the pension plan. So the school districts are, and I'm going to get this wrong more than likely, a participant in a multi-employer cost sharing. Multi-employer cost sharing plan is what the MIPSers is referred to. And so in that plan, there's an unfunded liability, meaning we've got this much in guaranteed benefits, and we have this much in money. So there's this unfunded liability of, I think, about $30 billion. Is that right? About $30 billion just in the MIPSers plan. And so what's going to happen with GASB 68 is there's going to be a calculation in the next couple of years that will say, okay, Richmond, your portion of that unfunded liability is, as you see in the last line there, about $17 million. And so they're going to, on basically pages 1 and 2 of your audit report, 4-1 and 4-2, you're going to see a liability show up for this $17 million. And what that means is right now, if you look at that statement, you've got a net worth, I think, of about 3.8 or something like that. This is going to take that into a deficit condition. It's going to, I would guess, do it for just about every district in the state of Michigan. The impact is going to be that I think my belief is that when the public sees this number, that it's actually going to bring it out. Everybody's talked about it, and everybody said yes, and it's there. But when this comes down and starts getting booked, everybody's going to see what that number actually is.
With the hope that that's going to fix something?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't say that now.
Okay.
No. And some of the questions we get is we've had questions, Jennifer, I did last week on what's the impact on bond ratings, for instance.
Oh, right.
And what are the bond companies going to do? I think Jennifer's active in the MSBO and stuff like that. I don't think anybody's really.
No, I know business managers are aware that it could be an issue, and they're being active with their bond agents to just make sure they're educated in it. So, I mean, everybody's going to be in the same boat, so they're going to have to get on board. But if they're new to school districts or not understanding it, it could be an issue.
Then lastly, just a big thank you to Vicki and her staff. I was talking to Superintendent Olson before the meeting. The audit went very smooth this year. We were able to get out in May or June and do the preliminary work on the federal programs. We have to do a certain amount of testing on federal programs as part of the single audit. We were able to get that done early. The audit itself went very smooth. A good job by the staff.
Yeah, we're very lucky. Very lucky.
Yes.
So the overall health of the budget's green? Or?
Yes, very good. As I mentioned, the fund balance went up, I don't know the exact number, $250,000 this year.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions at all?
Just thank you very much for your
Yes,
time.
thank you.
Oh, appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Year after year. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vicki.
Yes, Vicki. Thank you, Vicki. Okay, our next item, overnight Spanish trip. Mrs. Smallwood. Don't be saying anything more than that because I won't know what you're talking about.
Good evening. I have interest in traveling abroad once again. It's been years since I've done this. I've been employed in the district for 21 years, and I think it was 12 years ago that I had taken my last trip overseas. Of course, having children of my own and other life unexpectancies occurred, so travel wasn't in the cards for me. The students ask me often, can we go back to Spain? Can we go to Spain? And I feel now is a good time to maybe give it a try once again. The cultural experience alone is unbelievable, and the students would get a first-hand look at the country we talk about in class, and my experiences I've shared with them being a student there myself, as well as taking trips there in the past with students. They're just so interested in it, and so I said I'll look into it this summer. That's what I did. I worked with a company called ACIS. They're a reputable company that offers student travel. There are many to choose from, and I did some cost comparison with other companies that are out there, other companies I've used in the past. I find this company to be quite reputable. I liked what they had to offer. The trip itself would be a 9-day experience. 2 of those days would include your flight there and your flight on the return. And then the students would be in Spain for about 7 days. We would tour much of the northern part of the country. The tour would include a 9-day experience to the cities of Barcelona, Madrid, Pamplona, Saragossa, San Sebastian, and Bilbao. And we would be visiting 2 of the main world-renowned museums there, the Prado in Madrid, and San Sebastian, in Bilbao, the Guggenheim, 2 of the most wonderful museums in the world. And just overall, the first thing would be their cultural experience. I've heard nothing but great comments from kids in the past that have gone. I know of a couple of students that went again on their own, lived there for a while, that had been on trips with me in the past. It just was a memorable thing for them, and they'll never forget it. So I'd like to go this June when school is out, June 23rd through July 1st. I chose those dates. That way it wouldn't exclude any student that would be involved in sports or any type of school activity that would hinder them in getting this experience. And the price is high. It's around $4,000. So that is a concern of mine. I don't know that I'll get the numbers for that trip because of the cost. I know the interest is there. But my question to you is if you were to approve it, I wanted to bring it up to the students after I got the approval to see if maybe they want to not look at this summer, but maybe postpone it to next summer so they have almost a year's time or more to save more money. And if that were to be the case, then would I have to reappear before the board for the following year?
If that's what you're suggesting, then I would ask whoever makes the motion to approve the trip, approve it for June of 2014 or the following year, depending on interest. I think that's a good idea. Then you wouldn't have to come back and maybe 2 years planning. For some kids might get you more kids able to come.
Right.
That's what I would suggest. So is there anyone who would like to make that motion?
I got a few questions.
Sure. We have to make a motion first before we can ask questions. So if someone wants to do that.
I make a motion to approve the trip, Richmond High School trip to Spain for June of 2014 or June of 2015 as presented to us.
Support?
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Andy?
in going through the packet, it says student feedback, or you were going to plan to do a student feedback or a report to the local newspaper. I'd also recommend that maybe you do a photo presentation back to the student body, so anyone can go can get it. I've seen a couple of videos that happened in one of your classes, and they're outstanding. So I think people would like that stuff. Is there a minimum number of people? If you can't get like 8, you're not going, or 6?
Well, I would like to get around 20, ideally. Reason being, with these companies, what they like to do is if you have fewer than, I forget the number, they pair you up with other schools that are on the tour as well. I have experienced that. I don't care for that.
Right.
Reason being, you deal with other schools and their rules that maybe aren't applicable to what these students have to follow. And I ran into some real snafus on one of my trips with the previous school. So speaking with Melissa Wolf, the other Spanish teacher, we agreed around 20 to 24 students ideally. And that would include parents and family members in addition to these kids that would want to go as well. I wouldn't just limit it to students, because I know family members are always interested, which would give me a fair number.
What's the chances that there's a financial cost creep? Once you sign the contract, is it done, or does costs usually go up when you do this?
They guarantee the price. The things that are going to add up for the kids are the passport, if they don't have one, spending money, of course, and those are things I foresee as being out-of-pocket expenses in addition to the fee for the trip. The fee for the trip covers quite a bit: the flight, the hotels, the food, the entrance fees into all the places we're going to visit. They would avoid all those lines and the fees when we're there. So in comparison, in the transportation they provide us too while we're there. They give us a bus for use and the 24-hour service of the tour guide with us at all times, as well as the company here being available to us if need be.
And who's responsible for physical security? Does this company do it, or is the hotels you stay in, or how does that work?
The company has an insurance policy in place to protect them and us. Parents are expected to give us insurance background on their kids in advance as well.
Yeah, I'm more looking at where you're staying. I mean, is the State Department approved all these lodging places
Yes,
they're going to stay?
they're all approved by the company that has traveled. This company's been in business since 1978, and I've done a lot of research on them. I haven't used them before. I've used a couple others that I was happy with, one I was not happy with. They keep contacting me to go with them, but not going to happen.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay. She's been with me. Sure.
I just want to say that I had gone on a trip with Amy, with my son, who went back 2 years later to go running with the bulls, and went back last year for his honeymoon. So if he hadn't gone the first time initially with the high school trip, he probably would have missed out on those other 2 opportunities. So thanks to Mrs. Dolan for that.
Well, and probably some students, it's a once-in-a-lifetime trip.
Exactly.
As well, that they may
Exactly.
never do something like that
So
again.
from here, I want to bring it to the students' attention and get a parent meeting, see what kind of interest there is. If they'd rather postpone it to the summer of 2015, I'm okay with that as well. I just wanted approval for either time frame. If we could make it a go this summer, great.
Anyone else?
I guess the last question, I think I have somewhere in there, the deadline already passed for the guarantee, so is that
We
still?
talked about that, the company and I made them aware that I wouldn't be able to guarantee them any numbers until I talked to the school board, and that's when school was going to be in session, so they know that.
Okay. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope it works.
Next, 3 wrestling trips. Coach Dave?
If you'd
you'd like to speak about all three of them, and
All
then
three
we
of
can
them.
just do three separate
Okay.
motions rather than,
No problem.
if you don't mind.
The first one I see you have on here is our trip to Olivet, Michigan. That's going to be January 17th. We've been invited to go up and wrestle Lowell High School, who's ranked 25th in the country, before Olivet wrestles Alma College at Olivet, and that would be on a Friday night. And then the following day we go to the Hudson Super 16 tournament. We have reservations on hold right now at the Holiday Inn in Marshall, Michigan, which is only 10 minutes from Olivet. But it's kind of a unique opportunity for our kids to. We have alumni on both teams, on the Olivet College team and the Alma College team, and we'd go up the 17th. We'd stay the 17th, compete the 18th, and then come home. So keep going.
Yeah, do all three, and then we'll go back to.
The next one is the Medina, Ohio tournament. That is on December 27th to 28th. It's the third toughest wrestling tournament in the country. We took 7th there last year. It's an invite-only invitational. We're one of 2 Michigan teams, ourselves and Detroit Catholic Central, that get invited. And we'd stay up there. We'd arrive on the 26th, stay the 27th, and come home the 28th. And then the final one is December 21st. We've been invited to the Canfield Invitational in Canfield, Ohio, to wrestle St. Paris Graham, who's the number 2 ranked team in the country. We would arrive on the 20th and come home the 21st.
Okay, now, just before we do motions, Coach Day, on the Canfield, Ohio, says, you said December 20th. This is December 19th?
Yeah, we'd leave the 19th. We weigh in there on the 20th. It'd be the 20th and 21st. We'd arrive. It's a one-day tournament. We'd be home on the 21st.
But you're leaving on the 19th
Yes.
to stay overnight? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, we'll start with the Olivet trip. If there's a sample resolution.
I move to approve the overnight wrestling trip to Olivet, Michigan, scheduled for January 17th through 19th of 2014.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Questions? Oh, it was, Jeff supported it, yes. No? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next would be the trip to Medina, Ohio. There's a sample resolution.
I move to approve the overnight wrestling invitation in Medina, Ohio, December 26th through December 28th as presented. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The last is the trip to Canfield, Ohio. There's a sample resolution.
Move to approve the overnight wrestling trip to Canfield, Ohio, scheduled for December 19th, 2013. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Can I just ask one question?
Yep.
Do we still have study halls?
They have study halls
Every
before
day.
every practice.
Every day.
Oh, okay, all right.
The school days missed, will they miss school?
Oh, they will not miss school.
Okay,
None of these 3 trips
No.
are missing school.
okay, all right, thank you.
Yep. Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you and good luck in the
Thank
season.
you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, bowling overnight trip. Coach Essenmacher.
How y'all doing? I'm John Essenmacher, coach of the Richmond High School bowling team. I'm here to petition to stay overnight. First night we go to Bay City, and then that's Saturday night, and then the next day on Sunday we bowl in Saginaw. that's it. It's a good bonding experience for the kids. That's why we do it once a year towards the beginning of the year. They actually moved it back one weekend from Christmas because it was starting to, the people that run the tournament did that. But other than that, we've been very fortunate. The parents support it very well. Usually almost every parent comes. So
There's a sample resolution.
I move to approve the overnight bowling trip to Bay City and Saginaw scheduled for December 14th and 15th of 2013.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Other than you've been going to this for quite a long time, right?
yeah, like 10 years.
Anyone else? Okay, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, John. Good luck. Varsity softball, Bay City and Pinconning tournament. Coach Stewart.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here seeking permission for an overnight trip to Bay City, Pink County. We've been doing this for about 30 years. It's at no cost to the school system, with a great deal of supervision and chaperones.
There's a sample resolution.
I move to approve the overnight softball trip to Bay City and Pinconning scheduled for May 16th, 2014.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
How many years did you say you've been going?
About 30, 32, 33 to be exact. Yeah. A while.
Yeah.
35 years, it says.
Oh, does it say 35?
We went down to Perrysburg for a while.
Perrysburg for a while, yeah. Okay, it has been moved and supported. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Good luck.
And good luck. Next item, SRO officer, Dr. Olson.
Okay, I've talked to the chief of police, and they are willing to continue the SRO officer at the daily cost that we contracted last semester at $316.57 a day. We had planned for this out of our at-risk money, so that's, as we talked about it during our budget session, there is the possibility that it may slightly exceed $10,000, so that's why I'm bringing it to you tonight, just to make sure everyone is on board with that. So,
Okay. There's a sample resolution.
I move the approval of contracting with the Richmond Police Department for a school resource officer for approximately 32 weeks at $316.57 per day for an estimated cost of $10,130.24 for the 2013-14 school year, utilizing funding from the at-risk dollars.
Support.
Okay. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Is this always the same officer? We have the same person who comes and works with us on it, right? There's consistency with that?
pretty much in a given year, but it has changed during the time that I've been here.
Okay.
But it stays the same person through the year, though.
Pretty
you're
much.
saying.
Yeah, I was just thinking, there's another way you could do it, just cap it at 10,000 and just limit a day or two, whatever that budget thing is. So.
No, the only reason I brought it to you is because I can make a decision for under 10,000.
If it's over 10, it has to come to us for approval.
Well, what I'm saying is you could just cap it at 10,000.
That's what he said, but I thought it's,
Okay. That's fine, I just want to
if we end up a day or two either way, it's fine.
Okay.
We have to.
Anyone else? I'll do a roll call. Dan.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
Tracy.
Aye.
Rob.
Aye.
Andy.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries. Next item, termination. Dr. Olson.
I'm requesting the termination of Mr. Marr. Mr. Marr was a teacher in the district, but has been out on leave up until recently and he no longer has a current teaching certificate, so we're not able to get him an assignment anyway. So I'm requesting termination at this time. His contract, his individual contract is null and void without that.
Okay, there's a sample resolution.
I move in that, in accordance with the recommendations of the superintendent of schools, the employment of Dennis Marr for the Richmond schools be terminated effective immediately for the reasons that his teaching certificate has lapsed.
Support?
Is that you, Dan?
Yep.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
I guess the question I have is, so why did he allow it to lapse, or is there just his personal preference, or?
That would be something to ask him.
Okay, all right.
You did remind him, but it is the teacher's responsibility, so.
Just want to make sure there's no special circumstances or something going on. Okay.
So was the only communication with him about this last May?
Well, he has it when he renews it.
I understand the process of renewing. I'm just saying, from our perspective, was the only communication until at this point where we're going to terminate him?
Right, does he know this is happening right now?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
I would have to do some further research on that, but I do know he was reminded again last month.
So
and he would have time to bring it up to in that time period, but it is really his responsibility to maintain his teaching certificate.
I completely understand that. He's on leave. Is that what you just said?
He was on leave last year. He isn't. He's no longer on leave.
He's no longer on leave because of this situation?
No, because he has been released from leave. His doctor has given him permission to return.
Okay, oh, okay, okay.
He was on medical.
But he no longer on the medical leave, could have returned to work, but
Correct.
because the teaching certificate has expired.
I can't assign him, or we would be fined.
How many years has he been with the district?
I don't have that on the tip of my tongue. Good look.
I just know that there are sometimes extenuating circumstances that come in a person's life that sometimes get in the way. And I understand it's his professional obligation to do this, but I also just know of personal situations that might very well come into play that would prevent it from happening. And so I would hate to kick somebody when they're down, and I would hate for that to be happening.
Well, and it is a fine line that we stand on as well, because yes, it is the obligation of the teacher, and yes, we can be subject to fines if you have a teacher that is working for you that does not have a teaching certificate. I guess I'm just concerned with, I know that it's his responsibility, and I know we don't have a responsibility to remind the teachers that their certificate is expiring, because they all know when their teaching certificate is expiring, but I think the question is, did we afford him some kind of better contact than the contact that your certificate has been expired and so now you're no longer teaching?
I just don't know if he was on medical leave. I don't know what the medical situation was, but could he even get it because of his reason he was on leave? That's all I'm not sure in my mind, but I don't know all the facts.
Well,
but the situation we're in is if we do bring him back, then we're.
Well, we can't bring him back.
We're subject to the fine, so
we absolutely
that's
can't
not our
bring him back.
issue.
And we can't
Right.
assign him to a classroom
Right.
because he's not qualified.
Right.
And if we did, then we would be subject to the full salary as a fine.
So
He
what
could be
happens
a
if we
substitute
if we don't terminate him? He just can't come back unless he gets a certificate. That leaves a window for him to go get his teaching certificate And if you have a position, he can come back to work. There's a reason why we wouldn't want to do that.
I guess without going into great detail about someone who's not here, but there are extenuating circumstances for him, in my opinion.
He's been notified of this meeting coming up. He has not come to me with any extenuating circumstances.
There would be, you do not have to have a valid teaching certification to be a substitute.
Correct.
No, but he could still be a substitute wherever he wants. He would have to apply to do so.
How many years has he been with us?
You don't know.
Does anybody know?
Vicki? I'm not sure.
I had a higher date of 2000. I was just looking.
Thank you, Vicki. No, we're not. Sorry.
If he is terminated, are we responsible for anything financially? As far as
No.
If that's how you choose, you can always do that.
Okay, then based on the information that we have here, then I'd like to withdraw my motion, based on a lack of all the information.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to table this for further information, on getting further information.
How about a motion that tables it to the next board meeting?
Sure. Make a motion to table this till the next board meeting.
Support.
Okay. Jeff supported that. Is there any discussion on the motion to table this item to the next board meeting? Other than, I guess, what I'm just going to ask is that the more information that you would like to, please get that to Linda so that she knows where that's coming from and what it is that we're looking for more information. Okay? Yeah? Okay. Okay. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The item will be tabled until October. Next, October joint meeting with the city. That's something I forgot to, when we talked about our bond committee, we were talking about getting with different groups, and we would like to sit down with our city officials to talk about the bond, kind of have a roundtable discussion like we have done previously a couple different times over the last few years. And I know that Dr. Olson made contact with our city manager, John Moore, and I believe...
And he was going to get me dates, and I think he did on Friday, and I think I forwarded them to you.
Yeah,
I think it's October 15th.
That sounds right, the second
Is it a Tuesday, October 15th, I think is what the email said.
I'm pretty sure that's right, but I can't find the email right now, and I thought I put it in here.
No, but I think it is October 15th. Do we have at least 3 people that could do October 15th?
I cannot do Tuesdays.
Okay. Anybody else?
I can try, if you get a babysitter, but.
What time?
I believe 7 o'clock was the time, if I'm not mistaken.
7 would be okay.
Yeah, I can do it.
Jeff?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, there's 3, so, okay, October 15th at 7.
Where?
At the
City Hall?
city offices. We'll go to them. Okay. All right, our next item is parent complaint. There's information that the board received over the weekend to look at. And this is a complaint that has reached us at the level 4 of a complaint against a school employee. And I'm looking if there is anyone on the board, based on the information that we received and looked at, that would like to make a motion that we conduct a hearing with respect to that matter.
Can I ask a question first, or you want
Sure. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Well, I don't know, is this new territory for
It's
me?
very new territory.
Okay, all right.
That I just
was
had to
thinking,
read
wait,
all our
yeah.
policy and to know what I was doing, yes.
This sounds new to me.
It's very new.
So the process is the complaint comes to us and then this hearing happens.
The process is the person has made the complaint and they've gone through the chain of command, and
Right.
part of our policy, it's 9130, the level 4, if you're not satisfied with the outcome, once you go through the administrative process, you come to the board. And you come to the board by putting in writing what your complaint is, your evidence, and that's given, and the board has 7 days from when the information is given to us to decide on whether there's enough here that we want to conduct a hearing. If we do, a motion has to be made in open session that says we want to have a hearing on this complaint, and then I would have to get in touch with the person who complained, the person who's being complained about, to set up a hearing date, and we would have to, as a board, decide if we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, to get with those people. If there is no one that sees fit to make a motion, then I have to get in contact with the person that complained in writing and explain that, you know, after reviewing their complaint, we don't see merit in having a hearing, and then I guess they do whatever they need to do after that.
And so the hearing is with the person who's brought the complaint and the employee.
That's correct.
And us.
And the employee has the ability to have the hearing in open or closed session, and would be handled similarly to what we do with our student hearings. You know, if there's your evidence, if you have, you know, someone to back up your claim, I would think that our administrators would be involved in a sense in that hearing as well. So am I hearing crickets? So that's telling me that...
I have no intention of hanging on.
Yep, you made that clear. Anybody? Okay, then I will make contact with the parent on what the board's decision. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to take about 5 minutes. The next part of our meeting is our board interviews. We have a board vacancy, and we have 3 candidates this evening, and I will just speak with them for a minute, and then we will start with our board interviews. Okay. We have 3 candidates this evening. Our first candidate is down at the end of the table. This is Craig Fenton. And Craig, if you want to start, if you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in being on the Board of Education.
Okay. I have 2 children in the school district. One's in kindergarten, one's in 3rd grade. I'm a 1993 graduate. I have, actually our family's been in the Richmond school district, or actually before it was a school district, since 1839, so for the past 174 years. So as you can tell, we definitely believe in Richmond schools. So, but I think it's time for me to step in and use my past 14 years of leadership and management experience and to help improving our schools. I'm president of a construction company who deals with multi-million-dollar budgets, you know, on an annual basis. So understanding the financial end is very easy to me. Also grew up in a household with 2 teachers. I am the one that actually broke the mold of pretty much all my family, my aunts and grandparents and everyone was teachers, so I kind of broke the mold. So I kind of know on the not only for the great experience I had at Richmond High School, but also was raised by two great teachers. So education is, of course, very, very important and the foundation of our community, and we need to invest in our school district, which is, of course, our students, and give them the technology and the building upgrades. And being a business owner, we need to do the same thing. I mean, in the past couple of years, I invested in hundreds of thousands of dollars in the new technology, and that's just to keep up in the world of construction. And we need to do the same thing with the school and invest those dollars into technology and the building. The same thing, if we don't update our equipment, we're not going to be keeping up with with our competitors. And I think Richmond School District doesn't need to be keeping up with the Joneses. I think it has the capability of being the Joneses. So.
Okay, thank you. Like I had said, we each are going to ask you one or two questions, and then when we're done with that, if there's any questions you'd like to ask us,
okay,
you can do so. So I'll start with Tracy.
First.
Yes,
Great.
you do.
Good. Thank you for being here, first of all. This job has a lot of time involved in it. Lots of time, lots of commitment. And these meetings on Monday evenings aren't it. I think we had a meeting just a little while ago. It was like 20 minutes or something like that, which is very rare for us. This is much more normal. So you invest a lot of time in getting ready for our meetings. You invest a lot of time in being here. There's training involved in the process of being a board member. And then there's all the school activities that we commit ourselves to showing our faces at and being a part of. And it's just a big job. So knowing that there's multiple evenings in a month that you're going to be kind of committed to hanging out with some of us or whatever, what does that seem like in your life schedule? What does that seem like in your family world to fit that in and to make that work, I guess?
It's definitely doable and something that it's been a passion of mine, but just it's time to jump in feet first here and take care of it. I mean, it's not something that's going to benefit our children, and our wife would definitely understand, and our children are in a lot of activities, so I'm at those activities anyways, and would love to spend a little more time at other activities for football games and other good stuff.
Rob?
Hi, Craig. What's your opinion of the role athletics plays in our school system here in Richmond?
Athletics is always important. I feel the scholastic part is more important. I don't see it being the first priority. Not too many, if any, athletes ever came out and made it pro. I think a lot of times there's too much focus on athletics, and it's definitely important to draw attention to the school, but I wouldn't say it's a primary focus, but we've definitely come a long ways from when I graduated, back in '93 with our programs, and I see Richmond's come very far in the developmental portion of the athletics, which I probably would have been a little more involved in back if we had that. I think at our time would be a 7th and 8th grade flag football or something, and now they've got the football programs that are starting down at the lower level. So I think I'm very impressed on what Richmond has done with that, and more on the developmental levels. But education, of course, is number one. But athletics is definitely important. Thanks.
Jack?
Hey, Craig. What do you believe the number one challenge is facing school districts today?
The number one challenge, in my eyes, is getting the public to approve the millages, to give us the proper funding and upgrade the with the building, the technologies. I heard the transportation issue, but I would say it's financially it would be the biggest problem. But of course, course, the public needs to understand, in this tough market, I mean, being in construction, right now, dollar per dollar, you're getting about a 20% discount on the construction portion of stuff. So you're getting more bang for your buck in this economy with the, I think, what is it, a 2 mil proposal? Whereas, you know, if this was 10 years ago in the booming economy, the costs of these upgrades would probably be 20 to 25% more. So we just have to get out that, you know, the spending on you know, the bond proposal and keep, like I say, keeping up with the buildings and the equipment and the technology. I mean, technology is number one.
Dan?
A little bit with what Tracy said, you know, time, you know, I think there's been a few of us here that have gotten on, you know, thinking, oh, you know, once, twice a month, and, you know, you have student disciplinary hearings, and, you know, with the bond coming up, we have a lot of meetings in, you know, the town hall. So, I mean, it is quite a bit of time, and then, you know, once and if you, you know, do become a board member, your perception to the public and your friends and everybody is going to change. And I guess, are you prepared to deal with that? And, you know, we don't always agree on the way a vote goes up here. And so you have to be able to come and talk to your other board members before you know, you go blabbing to the media or something like that. You know, your disagreement with a vote. You know, we're all on the same team here, you know, along with the teachers and the administrators. You know, we're all here for one purpose, and that's the kids. And
Exactly.
you could just say a little bit how you would handle all that change.
You know, it's kind of the same as me dealing with the day-to-day operations of a company. I mean, I don't go and sit there and blab to everyone. You know, you sit, you have your team that you have to make the decisions together, and you don't go outside and you know, for opinions or whatever. I also, you know, not only were my parents teachers, my father was a board member of the township, so I mean, I grew up with, you know, knowing the time commitment and knowing all the, you know, how much time he spent, you know, with that commitment.
Okay.
So, yeah, it wouldn't be a problem.
Thank you.
Andy?
Thanks for your interest in the board. Craig, what was your biggest challenge you had to address in a group setting, and how did you handle that issue?
The biggest challenge in a group setting. Biggest challenge in a group setting.
Well, that could be a business. It just everyone doesn't run a business, so
Yeah.
it could be a member of something, or
I'd say the biggest challenge, like right now, our company is with the Michigan economy. All our work right now is down in New Orleans. So going these multi-million-dollar projects, showing up at a pre-construction meeting, and being the new face in town, and having that challenge to prove and to give them the confidence that you can do the job, and talk you know, tell them how you're going to construct the project, how you're going to do everything, and of course keep your word when you do that. So.
Okay, thanks.
My question is a little bit on having to have a thick skin. And I know you were here from the start. I saw you sitting back there from the start. And sometimes, you know, a big group comes charging in and are not always well informed on what they're charging in about. Mm-hmm. And as board members, you get attacked personally. You know, Facebook's just a wonderful thing, and emails and things like that. And sometimes it's very hard to sit up here at this table. So tell me how that affects you. I mean, I know you've lived here forever, you know, your whole life.
Yep.
But tell me how you would handle those kind of things, because you do become somebody different when you become a school board member. And just how would you handle those kind of situations when you're being attacked and maybe not necessarily correctly attacked, I guess is my question.
Well, the biggest thing is you have to keep your composure, understand that maybe tempers are flying, you know, you can't get aggressive. kind of have to take it all in, let them settle down, and you know, you don't want to come out with an instant emotional response. I mean, you have to think about what you're going to say and definitely have that thought out before you're going to answer these people. You know, a lot of times they're coming in and looking for a conflict, and you have to understand that and take it with a grain of salt. But of course, don't get your emotions into it, and don't let them get you worked up to where you're going to have those immediate irrational responses.
And then just my follow-up to that sort of, you'll be sitting here and a vote will happen, and you're the only person that votes no, and everyone else votes yes. And you know, the credence here is that, you know, we speak as one, and even though my vote may be the only no vote, when we leave this table, we've passed the issue, whatever it is. How do you look at yourself at being able to handle that, not only at the table, but out in the public as well?
Well, we have to do what's best for the schools, and if there is, you know, your belief, we're representing the students and the taxpayers, and you have to do what's best for them. And if your belief is that you don't, you know, you didn't agree, you had to vote a no vote, as long as you leave here feeling confident that was the right thing for the district and the students and for the taxpayers, you know, you have to go away from the table with the confidence that you made the right decision.
Tracy?
The decisions that we make here, like I think some of us have talked about, and you have talked about too, are about students and about student achievement. And so, you said you have a kindergarten?
Yes.
You have a kindergarten. And so, another child too, you have two, right?
Yes.
Kindergartner
and daughter in third grade.
In third grade too, that's what you said. So, can you just share with us anything at all that you've noticed, or things that have changed maybe in the last couple of years about student achievement, maybe at Lee or in the whole district, about curriculum or any of those kinds of things that you've seen changed, or positive things that you've seen happen?
Well, the curriculum, I don't think has changed for, of course, my daughter's level, and she's just coming up, you know, into third grade here. And of course, my son, you know, I haven't, this is his, well, he's been in, you know, I think this is his third year. He did nursery and preschool. And so it's kind of on the curriculum side, you know, probably not as well versed on that. But it's, I mean, I like what I see, you know, at that grade level, and I feel that she's doing a great job, and the teachers are doing a great job, and you know, every day come home from school, and it's how was school, and they're always just so happy. And I mean, it's first year, the alarm clock goes off, and they're out of bed and ready to go to school, and it's very positive that they have that desire to get up in the morning and go to school and see their teachers and their friends. And
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay. Jeff?
I'm good.
Dina?
You said, you know, your company's doing a lot of work out of state. I mean, is that going to be requiring you to be going out of state too?
Normally, no. We're kind of winding things down there and trying to get back up here. I normally only fly out once every 3-4 months. I'm actually flying out in the morning, but be back, you know, a couple days. But yeah, normally, I mean, I was supposed to go out, actually leave today, but you know, this was so important, I postponed the business flight so I can go down there and take care of business after this meeting.
Okay.
But yeah, normally travel, and I don't have to be there very often, and they're just scheduled trips so I can go schedule around the board's appointments.
Andy?
Craig, if you did a self-assessment on yourself, what's your top 3 strengths and weaknesses?
Top 3 strengths and weaknesses. strengths would be very good with numbers, with leadership. People skills. Weakness. It's a tough one. You don't really think about your weaknesses too much.
Don't let's say.
What's your on the weaknesses part?
That's a good idea.
Well, that's it for our questions. Do you have any questions for us?
Not off the top of my head here.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are welcome to sit in the audience or whatever
Okay.
makes you comfortable till we're, and I don't, can we get out here, Doug?
Practical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He must be thinking back to the old days.
About a year now. We moved here the end of September last year. We moved here from Grosse Pointe. I have 3 children. My youngest is a junior here at Richmond High. My middle child, my son, is 21. He's a corporal in the Marine Corps, stationed in Pendleton. Thankfully, he did time in Afghanistan as a gunner, and so we're happy he's back here. And my oldest is 23. She's living at home. She graduated from Grand Valley State University last year, and she's starting her career in medical administration, so she's been home for a while, not able to pay rent. The reason I'm an attorney, I've been a practicing attorney for 15 years. I'm a litigation lawyer. I do civil litigation. I have represented school districts. I've represented municipalities. I've sued them. And as a lawyer, I think I have a lot to offer you as a board. I can tell you tonight that there were things that occurred here that my input would have been helpful to you on, especially employment issues. My specialty is employment law. I have counseled schools on employment decisions. I've counseled municipalities on employment decisions. I've practiced employment law for 15 years. I've been the lawyer in closed sessions telling you what to do. I, as an attorney in closed sessions, will have questions and input into what your attorneys are telling you to do that some of you won't have because you don't have the benefit of my experience. You don't have the benefit of my education or my understanding of the law. I think that you have a very diverse board. I think you each have something that you offer this board that this board needs. You don't have a lawyer, and that's why I'm here, and I think you need me. So I'm here for the second time. And I want to thank Andy for encouraging me, because I thought that you probably didn't want a lawyer on the board, and that's why you had not chosen me last year, or in February. But he assured me that wasn't the case. I just wasn't the right fit at that time. So I'm back. It's not often you get a lawyer to offer their services for free. I'm doing that as an interested member of this community. I'm invested in this community. My daughter and I love it here. We love this high school. We love the teachers in this school. My daughter had the best year of her entire school career last year because of what goes on in this school. So I think I can help make that better. I think I can help make this district better. I think that there are perspectives that I will have that others at this table don't have just because of my life experience and mostly my professional experience as an attorney. We're all, I think, parents here. So I do have a perspective as a parent. I also have a perspective as a special needs parent. And so those things also will come to the table. But I think I can offer a great deal, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you. And it is nice to see you come back and still have the interest, truly.
Thank you.
We do appreciate that. We're going to start. We have one or two questions per board member, as you know from the last time, and we will ask you questions, and then you'll have a chance at the end to ask us questions if you so see fit. Okay? I'll start with Jeff.
Hello.
Hi.
What do you believe the #1 challenge facing school districts are today?
Well, I guess it depends on the district. And this is a question you asked me in February, and I think I've given it some thought. I think your district, first of all, I think you have a better perspective on what the major challenge is for this district. And that's something that I need to hear from you if I'm a member of the board before I sit here and tell you what I think it is. I think for this district, providing the quality of education that these kids need, and with the limited amount of finances that we have as a district, is probably one of the extreme issues that I see you as a board need to deal with.
Rob?
Robert, as you know, back in the spring, our bond failed for the first time. We're trying again in November. What was your take on it failing and us moving forward and doing it again in November?
Well, I voted for it. I support it now. I think as a member of the community, I think your communication wasn't the greatest. Coming from Grosse Pointe, I can tell you when they did bond proposals there wasn't a parent in that district that didn't have it shoved down their throat. And I don't see that here. So I think communication's a major issue here. I think you have elements in this community that you have to deal with. We're not all parents here. A lot of the community is elderly, unlimited income, and when you talk to them about even $100 more on their property tax, you need to sell that. And I don't see that as a member of the community having been done all that well. I think it's needed. I think you can explain to people why, in order to prepare our youth, which we have a responsibility to do, we need this bond. And this bond isn't all about putting iPads in the hands of third graders. And yet that seems to be what I heard in the community as a focus. And so I think if there were better communication about the other things in this bond that are really crucial, it might have done better. But that's my sidelines view of it.
Tracy?
Hi.
Hi.
I think I was here back in February when you were here, so it's good to have you here. Thank you for being here. This job takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, not just simply being here on a Monday evening. There's training to do once, if you were to get the seat on the board, there's training to happen, there's commitments to be present at all kinds of activities and all those kinds of things. So it's not just a one night a month kind of an expectation. So just describe a little bit how you think that commitment will fit in your life, and where that commitment is with you.
First of all, let me explain that I'm a single mother of 3 kids. I raised them by myself, and I went to law school when my youngest were 2 and 3. So in terms of being able to multitask, I'm the queen. Not only that, my life has changed. That's why I'm here as well, because, how many things you can put on your plate is something that I need to consider, and I have. And I'm at a place in my life where my oldest 2 are grown and on their own, and they don't need me on a daily basis anymore. My 17-year-old still needs me, but she is maturing and growing as well, and so I'm able to be absent and it not be a major hindrance to taking care of her. I am a self-employed lawyer, which means that I have a great deal of control over my day. So it would be very easy for me to add this into the balance of my life. And I would want to be involved in all the commitments that the board has and in the community.
Andy?
Barbara, thanks for coming again. Thanks. What was your biggest challenge you had to address in a group setting, and how did you handle it?
Well, I'm a lawyer, so everything I do professionally is generally in a group. I'm either in a courtroom, I'm meeting with the board, or even individually with the client, trying to, I would say, often, just let's pick something that maybe occurred this week, because I have big hurdles often in my life that I have to deal with professionally. But getting people at a table to agree on issues. I think that as a lawyer, one of the things that I have learned to do and do well is cut through the issues, bring people to a place where where you can build consensus and conciliation on issues, and being able to do that in a group setting, in a friendly way. It's something that I've learned to do, and I do pretty well without getting into particular instances. But being able to communicate, build consensus and conciliation.
All right, thanks.
You talked a little bit about the bond and the lack of communication. What would you do to better the communication?
Well, I don't know what you have done. I've only been the recipient of what I've seen. I haven't seen things come home with my daughter from school. I can tell you that they did, and it might be because my daughter's in the high school, and maybe you're sending them home with the elementary school kids and the middle school kids, and those things get home, and you may give them to the high school kids, and who knows what happens to those on the way home. But first of all, I think there's that get it home with the kid idea. The other thing is, I don't know how much email interaction you have with parents. I mean, you've got resources here. I don't know what your resources are, and maybe because of this bond issue, that's one of the issues you haven't been able to address. But I got emails in Grosse Pointe about what was going on in that school district all the time. I know that you're going to have the town hall meeting this week. I think that's excellent. How much does the community, how many people in the community know that opportunity is there? How has that been communicated? And I guess that's a question I don't know, because the only way I know about it is because it was on the website. So if you're not going to the website, I don't know how else. In the newspaper, I'm sure it's there. But how is that getting out? I also think door to door. I mean, if you've got people
We did go door to door in the spring.
Okay.
Just so you know.
All right. Well, I think that's great. Nobody came to my door, or I wasn't there. And I didn't get a flyer in the mailbox either. So if you did go, was there something being handed out when people weren't there? And maybe even as a phone number to call and say, or a note. And, if I was going door to door, I'd write a note and say, here, I'm your board member. I came to talk to you about this. Call me. We really need this. Our kids need this. I'm here to answer your questions. It's without me being part of the process of what has gone on, it's hard for me to assess what else I would have done. But I think communication is something that really needed to be worked on.
Thank you.
Being a board member, you need a thick skin. Mm-hmm. And sometimes issues come up, and for lack of a better word, people can go crazy over an issue and come to the board meeting and want to speak to the board, and sometimes they're not always informed on what they're speaking about. And Facebook is a wonderful thing. It's a good place to bash behind the wall and email and such. And sometimes there are issues that come up, and people will come to the board and attack the board, if that's the right term. How do you see yourself handling something like that? When you become a board member, you become, no longer just Barbara or community member, mom. You become a school board member, and it's a fine line between the two. How do you see yourself in that type of situation.
I see that as no issue. I'm a litigation lawyer. What I do for a living is have people try to, insult me, beat me, win, I mean, I have a thick skin professionally that, affects everything I do in life. I don't take it personally. And I'll tell you as a parent, too, I mean, the people that come in here to talk to this board are genuinely invested in what they've come to talk to you about. They're talking about their children. They're talking about what they care about. They deserve our respect. They deserve us to listen to them and respond, as best as we can to what they're asking us to do. And if they take it personally, when you're talking about someone's child, how does a parent not take it personally? So, if some of the backlash of that is that, there are maybe some personal slights handed out or that kind of thing, one, I understand it because of what we're talking about, and two, I don't take it personally. And it wouldn't affect my job as a board member or, my decision making either. I mean, I'll do what I think is best and make what I think is the best decision, and that whatever anyone says or thinks, I'll listen. I will listen. I'm not saying that I don't put a guard up so that if someone is criticizing me, I think it's important we listen to that, and then we self-assess whether or not they're right, or talk amongst the board and decide that. But as far as the thick skin part, it's hard to find a thicker skin than someone who fights in court. Well, maybe a lieutenant colonel.
Dan?
I don't have anything else.
Tracy?
Just your experience with your kids here in school, if you could just share anything, any comment you have about the curriculum, about student achievement overall, what you noticed?
Well, I have the gamut. I have 3 children, and as you all parents know, they're all 3 completely different. I have the super achiever oldest child who did it the way the program was set for her. Whatever the teacher told her to do, she did it. She was the kid in the class that I go to. I used to love parent-teacher conferences for my oldest daughter because I'd get told what a great kid she was. She could do whatever she wanted. She was excellent. She was that. It was lovely. And, it was like, yay, you feel good as a parent. Then you get the middle child, and he's brilliant, but he seems to just want to focus all his efforts on failing. And so those parent-teacher conferences were all about, I can remember the shop teacher telling me, a kid really has to work at failing my class, but your son's doing it. And so, having to go to the other realm of how do I motivate this child, how do I, get him to invest himself in the school experience. And then it gets to how do I get him to just get a diploma? And, so you go through all of that. And we did it, and he's successful in the Marine Corps, and that was what he needed to do to become a man, to learn, and to learn how simple learning is, as opposed to, what he thought at the time. Now, he can't wait until he gets out and he gets to use his GI Bill and gets to go back to college, Then I have my 3rd child, who is my special needs child, where I've been dealing since the age of 7 with a child that learns differently than other kids, and the frustrations as a parent to have that identified. I mean, I had to fight with the school district she was in because when they tested her at 7 and she was way off the charts, they weren't going to qualify her because she was they were going to use the under 9 at the time, under 9, if they felt she was emotionally immature, they could just say, we're going to use that. And the fight that I went through, getting a neuropsychologist and having to go through and finally getting her qualified and then getting her the services and then getting the teachers along the way. Most teachers are really good, but other teachers don't recognize that they have to treat this child differently and that this child's a different learner. And going through the frustrations of that. And that's like one of the things we love about this high school. My daughter has flourished here. Her needs are being met here. They weren't being met at the school that we came from. So I think that's why, too, as a board member, when I have, hear parents' stories, I've got 3 of my own individual stories that I can relate a lot to in terms of, the parenting experience and what it is to try to have your child meet the expectations that not you have for them, but what can they achieve, and how do you get them there, and how do you get them motivated, and how do you work with the school to understand your child as an individual person. So.
Thank you. I'm glad she's having a good experience.
Yeah, she is. It's wonderful.
Rob?
All seconds.
Jeff? Amy?
All right, as a self-assessment, what's your top 3 strengths and weaknesses?
Weakness, I can be impatient. I have a tendency to look, I see it, I can see things quickly, and so I work on being patient when other people don't see it as quickly maybe as I do, and then and that is a weakness within myself. Strength, I think I'm a pretty effective communicator. I think I'm able to get my point across. I think I also I'm a good listener. I've learned to be a good listener, and I think that in all areas of life that's really important. And I do work at that, and I think it's a strength. I think my ability to I accept different points of view. I don't think that I'm always right about everything, and so I find it interesting to have my world expanded by other people's views that are different than mine, and I think that's a strength. Weakness and patience. Sometimes I work best under pressure, so sometimes I procrastinate, and then under pressure I give it my full gusto. It's a personality type, but it could also be, I think, a weakness. And you're stumping me on the third because I'm just so perfect.
2's good.
2's good. Sometimes at the board an issue comes up and you may be the sole no vote and everyone else votes yes. And our idea is, that vote is made, we vote as one, and we walk away from the table.
Right.
How do you walk away from the table being the only no vote and everyone else has voted yes on a situation?
Again, I don't take it personally. Our role here is a professional role. It's not a personal one. So, we'll all do what we think is the right thing for that particular issue, and then move on to the next issue. And that's the way I would deal with it, and the way I would feel about it.
Okay, thank you. That's it for our questions. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think I do this time.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
You want to have a seat?
Okay.
In the audience?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am a parent. I have a daughter at Lee Elementary, and my son is a future Blue Devil. I am a teacher right now. I just feel like we need people on a board to serve our community that are very positive, which you guys all are, but have a vision for this community. I think the most important thing that we can do for our community is to have just an amazing school district. We need to take this district and really change the perception of what people think of us. I'm sick of living in my neighborhood and saying, where do you go to school? Armada. Where do you go to school? Over here. No, we need to go here. And we need to, maybe as a board and as teachers and the community, come together and show these people how good of a school district we really are. So that's why I want to run.
Thank you. Okay, Andy?
What is your biggest challenge you had to address in a group setting, and how did you handle it?
Well, I am a special education teacher, so I have to deal with parents on a daily basis. I've had to have some quite difficult conversations with parents telling about, their children that have disabilities and things that they don't want to hear. But I have built, in my school, I have built very positive relationships with all my parents. So when you have to have that difficult conversation, I can just do it with ease. I build a relationship with them. I walk them through it. I follow up on them just to make sure that everything is okay, because it's tough. So I think the most important thing is building a relationship with a person. Delivering good and bad news. That you have to have that relationship first, and because sometimes you're going to have to say some negative things, but as long as you have that relationship, you walk them through it, I think it'll work out.
Okay, thanks.
Dan?
You're a teacher, you said. I mean, in the past, kind of the relationship between the past board and the teachers here in the school, I always haven't been the greatest. And, us as a board, if I can speak for the board, don't want that to be the case any longer. And, again, it speaks to perception. A lot of people still think it's the same old board. Well, it's not. There's a lot of new faces here. How do you feel, if you do feel that being a teacher, I mean, how do you feel that you could, what do you think you could bring to the board that would offer to help bridge that gap between
the community?
The community, the board, and the teachers, because you bring a perspective as a teacher, and then if you are appointed, you'd be a board member. You kind of got
right.
A ball on both sides of the fence there, I guess.
Being an outsider looking in, I really think this district needs to promote all the good things that we are doing. We need to get ourselves in the voice. We need to get ourselves out there into the community. We need to be a visible face. Going to these events and making it known that we are here for the people. We are here to serve the people and give them the best education possible for our students. I mean, kids are an investment. They're our investment. They're our future. So we need, I send my daughter there to Lee, and as a parent, she's my most valuable, investment. We treasure our children. So we need to communicate this to the outside, because I think sometimes this is a very small town and people talk and it's all about perception. So if we can change the perception by getting out there and being the face, being supportive, seeing let's get out there, let's talk to these parents, let's see what is holding them back to not coming to Richmond. Like what is it? And then after we, compile our data, let's get out there and let's make these changes if needs be.
Thank you.
Rob?
What's your perspective on the spring bond failing and your prospects on the one vote we're having in November for the bond again?
Being a parent, I didn't feel I didn't feel like the community was fully informed and fully aware. I think this board has done, I think this time around, it's been out there. There's been, people like to know what am I investing in? And I feel like there's a lot more information. People are more informed and have, I think this time it's going to go through because people are more informed. I just don't think it was promoted as well. I'm not too sure. I don't feel like a lot of people didn't vote. They missed the date. It just wasn't publicized. And I also think that if we can relay the message, if the people, if our community invests in our district, the district is the heart of our community. If we can relay that message, if we can get things going, then people, it's an investment to all of us. We're all stakeholders in this. We all need to, work together. And if it passes, it just benefits the whole community. And people need to realize that. It's not just the kids that go to Richmond. It's all of us. We're all in this together.
Jeff?
What do you believe the #1 challenge facing school districts today?
There's so many, on so many different levels. I feel like, first of all, it's finances. There's a lot of negative perceptions out there of school districts and how we spend money, how we use money. There's just so, I don't even know where to begin. There's so many. But mostly to get the job done correctly, a school district is not just a place to educate kids. It's also, you have to look at it as a business aspect too. You can't just say, oh, we're going to do this, this, and this without having the financial backing. So I think like bridging the gap between having a great educational system, having a great curriculum, having fabulous teachers, but having the money to support these things that we want to do. We got to look at it in two perspectives. You got to look at it the educational side, and then you also have to look at it the business side. Can we do these things together to make it move forward?
Tracy?
Thank you for
Tracy.
being here. Thank you. It's really good to have you here.
Thank you.
Tell me, a little bit, I'm sure, since you're in education too, you understand the time commitment that it is to be on a board like this. I mean, it's not just a Monday night, once a month event. There's lots of things to show up at and be at, and, student discipline hearings, and all kinds of things.
Right.
And so, just share a little bit about how you envision that time commitment and the commitment here fitting in with your life.
Good question. When I do something, I give my 110%. I don't just go in and saying, okay, we're going to do this. If you have me, you're going to have me, and you're going to have me working as hard as I can. If I put my name on something, I want it done correctly, and I want to be there. I want to be the face for that. I know it's not just Monday nights. It's probably a lot of time, but I think that time is worth it because I believe this community's worth it, and I believe our kids are worth it. So I'm willing to take that extra time to, do whatever I can to, make this school district just a wonderful place for our children and our community.
Thank you.
When you become a school board member, you become a different person, if you will. You're no longer, Bridget Smith, mom, neighborhood friend, you be a school board member. That's the role that you take on. And sometimes things happen and people come, we had a large crowd. You were here, I think, for the meeting. Large crowd comes and there's an issue and they come to the board and sometimes things are said, people aren't as informed as they think they are, and board members can be attacked personally as well as professionally, and sometimes a thick skin is needed. Tell me your feelings on stepping into that role as a board, and when when those kind of situations come to the front, how you feel you'll be able to handle that.
Well, somebody once told me if you want to be a leader, you're ahead. You're not, people are always going to be talking behind your back. There's going to be things that, that are said. And you just, if you are a true leader, you will take those things with a grain of salt and you'll move forward. I don't let that bother me. I work with the most difficult students in my building, so I've had a lot of things, you know, happen where I've had to deal with uncomfortable situations, but you put a smile on your face, you stay poised, and you move forward.
Thank you. Rob?
What is your opinion of the role of athletics in our school system?
I think that athletics is very important. I think that a lot of people, it draws the community together, so it has to be an important part of our school district. We don't focus all of our attention on it because it needs to be a balance. There needs to be a very education, curriculum, teachers, and sports fits into that somehow, but not the main thing, but part of it, because it does bring communities together, and it does further the community with the kids' opportunities. So yes, it is important. Is it the most important? No, but I think it's a balance. It needs to be on even keel with everything else.
Jeff?
I'm good. Thanks.
Dan? Excuse me, Dan?
Almost up.
Andy?
Bridget, as a self-assessment, what would you assess as your top 3 strengths and weaknesses?
Okay, top 3. I'm very organized. I work fabulous with everybody. I'm a very hard worker. I get along with everybody. And my 3 weaknesses, you said?
Yep.
Weaknesses. Well, there's a lot, but
at least you're honest.
I mean, nobody's perfect. There's the top 3. This is getting really personal.
Blame it on Andy. It's his question.
Thanks, Andy. Sometimes I feel like I have a lot of compassion for people where I feel like that can hurt you in some regards. When the going gets, I always try to put myself in other people's shoes to see, you never know a person until you walk a mile in your shoes. And sometimes that can sting you. That's one of them. You said 2 more?
Yeah, 3. If you can't do all 3, that's fine.
Another weakness. Oh my goodness.
No one had 3.
No, okay.
No one had 3 yet. So
Thank you. I don't like being put on the spot like that.
There you go, there's one.
There's a weakness. Don't like it.
Oh my goodness.
Tracy?
My original question was actually about curriculum and student achievement. And I guess if you can, I guess I'm going to stick with that one. I mean, if you can just make a comment about, that's what our decisions, are all about student achievement, really. And so just I guess comment on what you think, what you see as a parent about Richmond's curriculum, what you see as things that are happening that are, you feel real confident and positive about when it comes to student achievement.
As far as curriculum, I think we are no longer competing against district to district. We are competing worldwide. It's an ever-changing society, so we do need to stay competitive in preparing our students to compete against kids in different countries, kids in, it's not just it's not the same as it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's changing and it's moving forward. So I do believe as a district you always need to stay current on the research. However, you don't jump the gun with the next new thing coming out. You need to have serious backing before you make a decision like that, because there's a lot of districts that I see that, oh, here's the latest and greatest thing, comes out, we invest all this money into it, and then nobody knows how to use it. It's just not working. There's not enough research done to back it up, and then it just sits in a closet, and there we are again. It's just, sometimes I just think we're constantly reinventing the wheel, where, you know what, this is what we need to stick to. And before we just jump the gun on decisions, because a lot of times, oh, that sounds like a great idea, but no, let's do the research behind this. Let's see what other districts have done. Has it worked for them? Because a lot of money can be waste and a lot of time can be waste when, you know, you just jump the gun like that. But however, we still need to be competitive with other school districts.
Sometimes when we're at the board table, a vote comes about and you could be the lone no vote on an issue and everyone else has voted yes and the issue passes. And, you know, we stand as one, you know, the vote, how the vote comes out, that's how the board speaks. How do you see yourself handling a situation where you are the no vote and everyone else's vote has voted yes? How do you see yourself moving from that?
Well, if a strong board sticks together and I have to, as a board member, I have to trust my fellow board members that, you know, maybe they saw something that I didn't. And I have to trust that, you know, if we're in this together, I need to trust my fellow members. So just roll with the punches and move on. And you just have to trust that, you know, it's for the betterment of everybody.
Thank you. Okay, that ends our questions. Do you have any questions of us?
What is your perception of Richmond schools right now?
I'm always the one that talks. Anybody want to?
And what do you guys envision the future and the change and curious?
Who's ready to jump in? Go ahead, he said. Let's go. I mean, I would say that, I mean, this is my third year. Is that right? I always forget how many years, because it feels like I've kind of been in a seat here on the board forever, but it hasn't been forever. It's 3 years. And I think in the 3 years, there's been lots of positive changes, and there have been lots a lot more board involvement in the ways that it needs to be, because that can get really messy. And so I think that energy and interest from the board level has increased, which I feel is a positive, has been a positive thing. And I see the district has gotten away from severe amounts of struggle that we were in. Because I think we were in some pretty severe struggling moments in our past. And I really feel like there's lots of good work by lots of great people in the entire district, and sacrifices that have been made by lots of people in the district. That feels very different, and that we're moving in a different direction. And that, I mean, I think that our, assessment level compared to districts in, because I know I think another one of the candidates mentioned something about, compare with the Joneses, because that's certainly what School of Choice has brought into the world of education, to its negative thing as far as I'm concerned. But to compare, we are doing fine work. We really are. And so to know that that's where we're at, and to make sure that we stay in that same way and get better and better. It's certainly we're on the right path to do that. It feels like, but this bond is huge. It's huge. It's huge in so many ways.
My answer to you on that is, I don't have a perception. I have a reality of what I know this district is. And it's a tremendous school district with amazing educators and leaders. And when we spoke on the phone, I told you the reason I got back on the board was because I thought we were doing a very poor job at this table and administratively by not getting that message out. We were putting the message, the sky is falling, the sky is not falling, and really was never falling. And so I think we've done, people sitting here and the people who have left in the last year have done a tremendous amount of work to get out of that feeling out in the public that Richmond's not the best place to get educated. It is, and we just have to work harder to keep getting that message out there, but that's my reality. Anybody else? Any other questions? No?
I think I'm good. I do sense like a lot of positive, a lot of positive things have happened in the past year. I mean, my perception, first moving here, I've been here for 10 years, and, when I first got here, it was different, and I've seen subtle changes that have mounted into, wow, this is great. This is a great place to be. I mean, I can't think of a better place to raise a family, a better place to send my kids. I can't think of better people to be surrounded by. So you guys are doing a really good job of promoting that thus far, and I want to be a part of that.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, thanks. Do you want to have a seat? As I had said, we have the 3 candidates, and we conduct our interviews in open session. We conduct our discussion in open session. So at this time, our plan was if the board sees fit that there is a candidate that they would be interested in appointing, we would do that this evening. So
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Bridget Smith for the board vacancy position.
So I was looking to see if there was a motion from anyone, and
Dan's on it.
Dan has made a motion. Is there any support?
Support.
Okay. It's been moved and supported to appoint Bridget Smith to the board vacancy. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to thank all 3 candidates for coming tonight. It's great to see the interest there. I hope it continues even in further elections to give some diversification to the community and opportunities to stay involved with the school system.
And I think it's great that we had 3 candidates, 3 good candidates. Not that it was bad that we only had you, Andy, when it was your turn, but it's nice to see the interest and the support. And listening to you talk, we hear what you're saying, and we're looking at 3 parents sitting out in our audience that want to be a part of this board. That's tremendous, and it can only get better. And 2 of you have small children, so you're going to be with us for a very long time. And we come back. We're doing good things, and we are working really hard towards getting this bond passed, and our hope is that it will, and we hope that we have the support from the 3 of you out there in the community, because you each have your own group of people that you can help promote the school district. So we thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, 1.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Congratulations, Bridget. Thank you, Barb and Craig. Terry, do you have anything with us? As we had stated, Bridget, if you would come up, we are going to swear you in so that you don't run away. Terry will.
because I am so parched right now. I, Bridget Smith, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state, that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office member of the Board of Education of Richmond Community Schools, Macomb and St. Clair Counties, Michigan, according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're not
Be
going to
here
let
till
you
midnight.
go anywhere. That's right. Our next item is agenda items to be included at the next meeting. One will be the tabled item. Do we have anything else at the top? Oh boy. The True Blue Moment, Bradco, Gallagher, and Slanik. Anybody have anything else?
We talked about having a workshop coming up, didn't we? Like, you know, just with the new board members, maybe if we could.
Yeah, I thought we'd talk about that after we come out of our closed session.
Okay.
Is that it, Linda?
I'm sorry, we haven't looked ahead that.
That's okay. All right. We just know the tabled item and we have our True Blue Moment.
That'd be a nice short meeting.
And don't get your own.
Right, you never know. A motion, our next item of motion would be in order to go into closed session for attorney-client letter purposes.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're going to go into closed session. 5 minutes.